greatest things I think everybody should do every day, and not 20%, but whatever little bit it can be, is to give something. Givers gain, as we say in BNI. If you give, somebody's going to want to give back to you. It's just a natural order of things. So if you can, ask somebody every day, is there something I can do for you? What can I do for you and help you today? Even if there's nothing, at least they know somebody cares about them.
Yes,
just like talking about sex doesn't make you pregnant, talking about death won't kill you.
Good morning, Savannah, and welcome to the Savannah Business Showcase. This is Taraz, your host. I'm here this morning with a very special guest, Lisa Bates, the Advanced Planning Specialist at Baker McCullough, bakermccullough.com. And I'd like to start everything off with a scenario. I know you've heard it before. I don't know if you've thought about it or not yet, but for all the new listeners out there, the purpose of the show is to motivate entrepreneurs, motivate business owners, and to inspire people to start their own business. So here's a scenario. You're walking through your neighborhood. A little kid comes up to you and says, "Lisa, you're my hero. I want to be like you when I grow up." What does it take, in language a 10 or 12-year-old can understand, what does it take to be Lisa Bates?
Well, that's a phenomenal question. What does it take to be Lisa Bates? I would tell that person that to be Lisa Bates, you would have to start by being yourself. Also to grow in yourself as a person, not try to emulate other people for the goal of being them, but maybe taking all the positive traits that they have, things that you see about them that you would like to emulate. So I think it's really important for us to make sure that we don't direct, especially children, to go a certain direction. We want them to grow and learn as their own individuals and their own little people, and take the positive from everything around them, be able to look at the negative and say, you know what, I don't want to be that. I feel like that's how I grew as a person. Growing up, I didn't have a lot of direction. I didn't have a lot of guidance. So I had to be able to look at situations around me and go, oh, was that something that I would want to be? Is that something I would want to do? And look at the results of things that were happening to people around me, good or bad, and focus on those things and say, I want to be that. Yeah. And it took most of my life to get to the point where I won't even say master that, because every day I wake up, you have to, master today. And so I would tell them to do that and dream big and look for your goals and never quit. Wake up every day and say, what is today going to bring, especially on Monday, because Monday's the best day of the week, because it's a whole new week of new opportunities that you can grab a hold of and move on with. So
I'm excited to have you on the show because you work in an industry that most people don't like to think about. You work in an industry that it makes you stay inspired. It makes you stay you have to have so much love and giving and caring and all those positive emotions just to be in this industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I guess let's take a step back and just tell people about who you are and what you do.
So I am. My name is Lisa Bates. I am from Savannah originally. I was born at the hospital on Telfair, at Telfair Hospital, which is on Forsyth Park on the south end, I guess that would be. It's now an apartment complex. But my mother was from Savannah and my father was from Brooklyn, so I traveled back and forth my whole life. I got kind of the best of both worlds, as they say. And it was a blessing and a curse, because every time I moved back and forth, my parents had moved again as well. I had to learn to make fast friends and make friends easily. And again, that's, part of mastering life and learning new things. But I graduated high school here in Savannah from Windsor Forest and didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, as a lot of us don't. And we think we have to have it figured out when we're 18 and we're going out into the world. And a magistrate judge here in town, one of my mentors, Judge John Andre, he's deceased now, tried to get me to go to law school, which did not sound fascinating to me in the least. But because I had no direction, I went ahead and moved to New York and went to paralegal school and graduated there.
Okay.
And did 24 years as a litigation paralegal, and just truly felt like I needed to be doing something more meaningful and something that was helping people every day and giving back. And I thought that being in law was going to do that, but in the end, I did not wake up every day excited saying, who can I help today? Who can I make their life easier? So I backed out of that and went and got my life insurance license with the support of my phenomenal husband. My husband is Jeffrey Bates. He is a retired Army corporal. Spent a year in Afghanistan, and he is home now. My son is 18 years old, graduated from Islands High, and he plays soccer and video games and girls, you know. And my daughter, Farah, is 10. She sings for the Savannah Children's Choir.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, she's pretty amazing. And does junior roller derby for the Savannah Junior Derby Taunts. Not the ballet and piano girl that we anticipated. She's a little bit more like me, mud and trees. In a dress. But yeah, so and I have a black belt in Taekwondo.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I guess back to the giving back and helping. I was a guardian ad litem for a little while, representing children in court as their voice and their advocate. For situations where there was abuse or neglect.
Gotcha, so that's kind of where the paralegal comes in as well. Just kind of understanding that role.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay, so so you work for Baker McCullough. That is a funeral home.
Yes.
Okay. What's the technical term for like the industry? I don't want to say something derogatory.
Yeah. Well, it's Baker McCullough Funeral Home and Crematory. So we do both. We do have a crematory here. It's out in Garden City at our Garden City location. We have 3 locations. Hodgson Memorial. And Bonaventure, near the Bonaventure Cemetery, is a beautiful chapel over there, as well as out on Highway 80 in Garden City. So those are the 3 locations. And I do advanced planning for all 3 of those locations. People generally say, what is that? What is that? I don't know when I'm going to pass away. How can I pre-plan for this? Fortunately or unfortunately, depending, none of us do know when that's going to happen, but there is a 100% mortality rate here.
That's true.
So, and honestly, in the South, dying is a tough discussion. It's a taboo topic that we don't really want to talk about. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. Why.
Well, I hear a few different things. For some people, it's not that they think they're never going to die. They just don't want to face it. You know, they don't want to deal with it. They're not sure, and they don't even know how to go about, talking about. I mean, even just trying to sell, life insurance for to people. For those in the life insurance industry, tell me that's a hard discussion to have with them because they don't want to face the fact that something could happen to them. So that's probably the greatest obstacle to opening the discussion, but it's a discussion that needs to be had. 8 out of 10 of us, of anyone you would speak to, say that it's a wise thing to do, that it needs to be done.
Of course,
that they hope that their parents do that for them, so they don't have to go in on the worst day of their life and have to plan a funeral and plan all those details. There's 86 decisions that have to be made that day. And it's the worst day of your life. I mean, mentally and emotionally, it's exhausting. And the last thing you want to do is walk in unprepared and under pressure. And sometimes just mentally and emotionally exhausted, especially if there's been a long illness. Especially for the main caretaker. If the main caretaker has not only had to take care of that person, but now also has to deal with this as well. It's just a huge burden to take off of others.
So, like, I guess on the business side of things, I don't know how much you're involved in with the business of the company, but this is a taboo topic. It's even hard for me to ask the questions, but I'm just gonna get real with you. Okay. So, like, how do you make money? Like, what are the different, like, are there different packages you can sell? Is it like all from the crematory side of things, or is it the service, or like what are the different
Well, advanced planning is done in it's 3 phases. The first part of it is services that are provided by the funeral home, which includes the funeral directors, handling retrieval of the deceased. Are they going to be embalmed? Are they not going to be embalmed? What are the laws? Making sure that all of that's handled, and those are the services that are provided. Visitation. Are we doing the service at the chapel, or are we doing the service at your church? The second part of it is merchandise. We're doing a funeral, right? Are we doing a cremation or a burial? If we're doing a burial, we need a casket. If we are doing a cremation, we need an urn, or do we? Maybe not. Maybe they want to be thrown out of an airplane over Tahiti because they never got to go there, right? And then on the burial side, there's also a vault, and sometimes there's a vault for an urn as well if they want to be buried. If they want to be cremated, but they still want to be on a family plot.
Gotcha.
So there's vault that is required, and then those 2 things. Those prices are locked in. So somebody, if they're doing advanced planning, will plan their funeral now. Those things, if we fund them, and I'll get to explain to you in a minute. We'll get to that, how that's done, because that's ultimately where the financial situation comes in.
Gotcha.
Those prices are locked in. So say you and I sit down today and I plan your funeral and we go through the whole thing. Those charges are locked in because it's funded through a product. And if you pass away in 20 years, the funeral home cannot charge you any more for those items. So since there is a inflation rate of 4% per year, on everything, not just on your funeral, that could save you a substantial amount of money by doing it now. So financially, it's a wise choice. But it's also good for the funeral homes because they know that they are going to have this income coming in at some point in the future. So, and the last item on that is cash advances for things such as your obituary, flowers, your honorarium, if you're going to have a musician. All of the cemeteries have an opening and closing of the grave charge that they do. Are we going to have tents? Those things are things that you cannot lock in because those costs are monitored by those people. We can't tell a florist how much we're going to pay for their flowers in 5 years. I mean, they're going to tell us what we're going to pay them. So we can sort of estimate and gauge that, and that's how that works. Then we come up with an amount and work out all the details in advance. And then it's funded through a life insurance policy. The company that we use at Baker McCullough is called Homesteaders. It's a national company. A question that a lot of people ask is, what happens if the funeral home goes out of business or they change hands? And that has been an issue in the past, not just maybe not here locally as much as nationally, but in order to alleviate that problem, there's regulations in place through ERISA. And so now that money cannot be held in a funeral home. It has to go into a product, and that's the product that we choose because it's a national company. So God forbid your funeral home closes, that money will go to someone that has to honor that because it's funded through a life insurance.
And it makes your job a little easier too. As an advanced planning specialist, you can be sure that you're taking care of the people in the right way.
Absolutely. So from my aspect, the only way that I can do what I'm doing is because I have a life insurance license. And I'm a life insurance agent.
Awesome.
And that's beneficial for anyone who's thinking about getting a life insurance license and getting into that business, that there are other options besides just going into a national insurance company or trying to, put a sign on your door and starting your own life insurance company. There are other ways to utilize that insurance license that are not just your mainstream ideas that, just have to do a little research, and this is one of them.
Got you. We met at a BNI network event. So
it was serendipitous.
Very, very serendipitous. Yeah, we ended up knowing Cherie. Derry, who's a previous guest, mutually. So I guess my question is what is the? So you can sell to literally everybody.
Absolutely.
Which probably makes it harder than easier to sell. In my mind, it would, because if you had a niche, you would know exactly who you needed to target.
Absolutely.
But now you don't know. It's a wide spread. So what's the best way you find the people?
So my target market is anybody breathing who's not going to be breathing someday, right? That makes it harder for me to tell you, hey, this would be a great referral for me. It does make it harder. And
So how do you target people? How do you choose who to target?
Well, one of the great things that that we do is we do seminars.
Okay.
Yes, and at various locations. I do them at the funeral home where I bring people in, and we, I did a pizza and preneed last month where we had pizza and wine, and we walked people through what advanced planning is, because a lot of people don't know what it is. They don't know it's an option, how it works, what does it cover, what are the reasons to do it. Some people are like, oh, I don't need to worry about that. My family knows my wishes.
Yeah.
And maybe they do, but it does not mean that they have to follow them. A lot of people have the 5 Wishes book, which is a fabulous product. Everybody should do it. But unfortunately...
I'm sorry, what is the 5 Wishes book?
The 5 Wishes book is a booklet that you can get for estate planning purposes that tell all of your wishes from... this is what do I want to be buried or cremated? Okay. Do I want to open or close casket? Here's where my money is. Here's life insurance. These are the policy numbers. This is who you need to call. This is who I want to be my pallbearer. I don't want my drunk Uncle Bob carrying my casket because he dropped Aunt Sally at that last funeral. Please make sure none of this happens. Things like that. And that's a wonderful thing if you're sure that your family members will honor your wishes. But one of the reasons to do advanced planning with the funeral home is it does lock in a contract where if you have a situation where you come in with a family member, and this is quite common, honestly, family comes in to plan a funeral in an at-need situation, which means someone passed away yesterday and they've done no planning previously, and they've kind of told everybody what they want, and maybe they didn't, you know. But then the family's sitting down planning this, and if the decedent wanted to be buried, and there's a life insurance, and an average cost of a funeral is about $7,500. Okay. $10,000 say for a burial, $5,000 for cremation, and I'm being very approximate based on obviously what you decided to do. It could go super elaborate or incredibly basic, but national average cost on the internet, if you Googled it, it would tell you that. But if it's less expensive to cremate someone than bury them, and you have a family member that may go, all right, I'll take that other $5,000 and put it in my pocket, maybe your wishes aren't going to be granted. And on the flip side of that, we have people who may want to be cremated, but the family members don't believe in that for religious purposes. Right. And if that has not been locked in a contract that the funeral directors have to abide by, you may find yourself in an open casket in the ground, or a closed casket. I was about to go into a story. I have a family member that happened to. He made it very clear he wanted to be cremated, and he definitely didn't want an open casket. Yeah. And the life insurance money was left to a parent, and that parent did not believe for religious purposes cremation. Yeah, so everything he did not want to happen happened. There was an open casket, and he's now in the ground in a cemetery. And is it the end of the world? He doesn't know. We're our bodies are our shells. We're not it. We're gone. Hopefully, we're dancing and rejoicing elsewhere. But his wishes were not granted, and that was because he didn't plan it ahead of time. So, and it keeps a lot of family frustrations from happening. A lot of turmoil within the family and the funeral home. And honestly, too, it gives people, during that time when someone passes away, that's the time when we need to be able to start banding together and start that healthy healing process. And that process is delayed when we have to stop to do this, and sit down and ask these questions, these true. Details. And a lot of it you don't know. Did they want an open or closed casket? What do they want to wear? It can be incredibly draining if it's not something that you know.
Yeah. As a kid, I've said this in another interview somewhere, but I went to a lot of funerals as a kid. Like my mom took me to a lot of. I went to way more funerals than I did weddings as a kid and part of it was she just wanted to support the families. Right, she wanted to be there for the family that was grieving. She wanted to show her love and help them as much as she could, which means that I was there too. One way or another, I was in there. And I don't know, like in the Black community, we call it like a homegoing service. It's not really a funeral; it's more of a homegoing service, right?
Celebration of life.
Yeah, celebration of life, exactly. Right. So there is I guess what I'm trying to say is there is a positive side to death in some ways, right? Because it's a celebration. So to you, how long have you been doing this?
I actually have had my license for over a year.
Okay, over a year. So you're still in it. You
Absolutely.
didn't quit the first week.
Right.
So what brings you joy about this line of work?
Well, the creating the income.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
For myself and my family was quite motivating, but I also saw that it was going to be a struggle to create that income. So at that point, what are you looking at? Obviously, not just the income, or I would have gone out and gotten a much easier job with a salary and benefits and all of that.
Right.
Because this is a commission job.
Yeah.
It's sales. Bottom line. But for me, it's not sales. I'm so passionate about making sure this is done and that no one else has to go through what I went through. My mother passed away after a long illness. She had lung cancer, and I was her primary caretaker. And then she went into hospice. She passed away, and no life insurance, no long-term care, no preparation of any kind. My father passed away quickly. Heart attack. I was 21 years old, so he was in his early 40s. Don't do the math on that. But in just being and my mother's service was at Baker McCullough, and just being in that situation and seeing what I went through and how we had to handle it.
Yeah.
That is. I want no one to go through what we went through. No one to go through on the worst day of their lives. And stories that I've heard from other people who are like, oh my gosh, when my father died, we were there with my mother, and the person was pressuring us and upselling us, and it was the worst experience.
Oh, man. That's terrible.
And I want to alleviate that for every person I come in contact with. Every time I finish planning a funeral and it's done is the best day for me. And I do it every day. So every day is the best day for me. And the just like anybody else who's passionate and loves what they do, the rest will come. The rest comes. And it's just beautiful.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, they say the only two things that really motivate a person to take action are pain and pleasure.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, so the pain of going through it yourself is what motivated you to really help others.
Yeah.
Not
absolutely.
go through that. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And
Go ahead.
And I had been praying because I was in an unfulfilling job, and I had been praying. I'm like, God, just lead me, show me, and it just fell in my lap. I met someone who worked at Baker McCullough at an event, because we sponsor for Savannah Helps.
Okay.
Monthly events in the community.
What is that?
Savannah Helps is actually, you can go to savannahmastercalendar.com.
Okay, yeah.
And the monthly events are on there, and often it's a grand opening of someone's business that we support, and then we sponsor as the funeral home, as well as some other sponsors, the event. And there is usually a nonprofit involved, Rape Crisis Center, Leukemia Lymphoma Society. So anything that is raised that day goes to that fundraiser.
Gotcha.
So we do those every month. So yes, definitely go to the Savannah Master Calendar to look for those events.
Awesome. Yeah. The events you mentioned earlier, it dawned on me a minute ago that that's probably the best way to find your target market, is to host an event, because then you have people coming in that are interested in what you're offering.
Absolutely.
Instead of trying to it's spray and pray, like just go to shotgun approach and hope you hit somebody and spend your whole day trying to find the one person. You can just have an event and have people who are interested in what you're offering come to you.
Absolutely. And we have events that are posted on the Baker McCullough website. Trying to do those monthly.
Okay.
But I also love to go into churches and do seminars for churches and homeowners associations, maybe clubhouses, civic groups, any groups that just love to get together. The purple red hat ladies are super fun to go have events with. But yeah, so anyone who wants to get together and just get educated about what their options are and are seriously interested in just knowing, what to do. And I make it fun.
Yeah.
People are like,
I can tell.
How do you talk about, how did you become the death person? And I love it, and I make it fun, not out of disrespect at all. When I'm planning, I'm incredibly understanding and empathetic. But when my mother was passing away, she had lung cancer, and it was a long and grueling process. But every time we went into the oncologist's office, we were cracking jokes, and she's laughing. And I that's something that I will take from her my whole life. And I realized one day the oncologist was like, what is going on? He just had this look of shock on his face, and I realized what was going on. I said, I'm really sorry. I said, are you offended by our humor? He said, I'm not offended, but I can tell you in all the years I've been an oncologist talking to people about their death and their treatment in this office, no one has ever been cracking jokes and laughing, and I'm really just not sure how to handle it.
Yeah.
And my mother says to him, well, laughter is the only cure for what I have. If I keep laughing, this can't beat me, whether I live or die.
Right. That's beautiful. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
It's
I
amazing.
take that with me every day.
Yeah.
Every moment. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm concerned about my inappropriate death humor because that's just the way my family copes and how we deal, because life is still beautiful and amazing, even with the death around us. And that can be beautiful and amazing too. It just depends on how we look at it and handle it.
That's true. That's true. You can die through it, or you can laugh through it. I don't know if I said that right. That's not what I'm trying to say. But like you have to laugh through the hurt and pain sometimes, right? You can cry, you can laugh.
Right. You can laugh or cry. And if crying's the option, what's that going to do to your soul? For the long term.
Yeah.
Keep yourself lifted up.
Right. Right. If you're in I heard this before. Like if you're in a dark room, if all you focus on is the dark, you'll never see the light. But even if there's just a small little sliver of light, if you focus on the light, you'll find it. You know what I mean?
Amen.
Like if you're in there, you'll see the light.
Absolutely.
One way or another.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back with the lightning round. So before we go to the lightning round, I'm lying. So like, what motivates you every morning? You wake up, you're doing this for people. You're enjoying what you do. You have a passion for it. Like, what motivates you? What
motivates me? My family motivates me. My husband's incredibly supportive, and my children. And when I look at them, I'm going, what other family members out there am I helping today? I may be helping you with your funeral, but who I'm really helping is your family. What families am I helping today, and how can I help them? And that's what makes me happy. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think you'll be prepared for the untimely death of another relative more so than the average person, or?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I've experienced a lot of death. My boyfriend died in high school, our senior year of high school, from a brain aneurysm. I had a friend who committed suicide in our middle school.
Oh, man.
And, then my mother passed away, my father passed away, my grandmother passed away a week later. I've had a couple of aunts and an uncle who've died of cancer. So, and numerous friends. And I think that when I remember that first passing, I was too young to even comprehend what was going on. But by the time Bubby died in our senior year of high school, you're processing things different because you're at a different age. You're just figuring life out. You don't even know what's going on, much less be able to process that this has happened. What do I do? How do I treat the family? Right. I don't even know. I've never even thought about death, since my friend died in middle school. And what do I do with it? So as we grow and we get older and more mature and we experience these things more, it's a learning process. And, if you have a great support system and people around you who can help you understand it and grow, and if you get into the Word and understand that, it really helps not just the grief, but helping other people with their grief.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law passed away, and someone at his funeral seemed a little upset that I wasn't more upset. And and I process it differently. We need to also understand that not everybody copes the same. Not everybody processes this the same. But we're all on different emotional levels, different, mental levels, different experiences. If it's the first person that's ever passed away in your life, you are going to handle it completely different than if it's, the 20th, like me. So I think it's really important to try to just be open and caring and loving with other people no matter what, and try not to judge what their experience is and what their reaction is, and how they're handling things.
Beautiful. Yeah. I'm sorry about all the deaths you've been through. It seems like some of it tragic, but you've been through that, but because of that, it's been a blessing and a curse, right? Because I can tell you have more of a love and a passion for life than 99% of the other people in the world who haven't experienced it yet. So it's a blessing too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. We'll end with that before I say something stupid. All right. So we'll go to a break. Thank you guys for listening. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to put Lisa Bates of Baker McCullough through the lightning round. If you want to learn more about Baker McCullough, you can go to bakermccullough.com, McCullough, bakermccullough.com. All right. See you guys in just a second. All right, Savannah, welcome back to the Savannah Business Showcase. I'm here once again with Lisa Bates of Baker McCullough, bakermccullough.com. We're going to put her through the lightning round. All right, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do this.
What did you want to be as a kid, and how does that relate to your current business?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be a brain surgeon. I don't know where I got that from. And I used to watch those shows on TV, the surgery shows that would come on, and you'd just be able to watch surgeries on TV. And I'd be sitting in front of the TV after school with a bowl of cereal and eating and watching these surgeries. And my mom, who had a very weak stomach, would walk in the room and just start gagging. And I got a really big kick out of the gagging, so maybe it just kind of got into my head that I should keep this up. Fortunately or unfortunately, that did not come to fruition.
Yeah, it doesn't relate. How have you approached failure in life?
Failure?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think what we go through is failure. I think it's lesson. And that was also a lesson that I learned later in life. I think that when we look at our failures as a failure instead of a lesson, we tend to just focus on that failure and get stuck there, and say, oh, well, this didn't work out. Why didn't this work out? But if we look at it and say, okay, that didn't work out. What can I do better? What can I do now? I'm an action person. I like to keep moving forward. If something doesn't work out, I don't want to wallow in that spot. I want to go, okay, now what? Now where are we going? Which direction are we going to take this? And what did I learn from it? And let's move on.
Who influenced you early in life, and who's your mentor now?
Ooh, that's a good question. Who influenced me early in life? I would say that early in life, my stepmother influenced me spiritually. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. My father was Catholic. My mom was not. I would say she was non-denominational. So my stepmother had a large focus on making sure that we knew Christ and understood with the relationship. Growing up partially Catholic, a lot of that was just very different than what she taught me, and it kept me in the faith. Even during hard times in my life, it brought me back to that. Now I have so many people. Oh my gosh, the network of amazing people that I have had walk into my life because I've been open to them. That from every walk of life has enriched me so much. I mean, just like recently meeting Sheree, like that changed my this whole moment in my life, just meeting her and talking to her and how amazing she was. And then I have a friend, Barbara Treadwell, that I've met probably 18 years ago, who is from New York and Savannah as well. How that also was serendipitous. But she has motivated me and taught me where I came from is not where I'm going to be. I think, speaking of failure and growth, I spend a lot of time focusing on I didn't grow up the way a lot of other of my friends did, you know, in a dual family household with your mom stays at home and everybody's healthy and normal. And, you know, the way I grew up did not set me up for where I'm at right now. For all intents and purposes, I should not be here. I should, I don't know, maybe be in jail. But all kidding aside, she showed me that no matter where I've been, that's not where I'm going to be. You know, to look at who I want to be and become her.
Yeah.
And become that woman, and not use any of my past as a fault for not getting there.
Yeah.
You know?
Beautiful. Advice for new entrepreneurs.
Never let anyone tell you that's not a good idea.
Okay.
I feel like people are quick to judge someone's idea. You know, when they say, I want to do this or I want to do that, and they have this idea, and if it doesn't fit into their structure of what they think that people should be doing, and it doesn't fit into their idea of society, and if you're a certain age, you should be doing certain things, or if you know, your family was in this business, you should be doing that. And I think people are quick to squash people's dreams when it doesn't fit into their idea of what their direction should be going. So put the blockers up on those. And when somebody tells you, I used to have a screensaver on my computer that says, if you say I can't, I will. Because a lot of times people say, oh, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that. And that's when you know that's exactly where you should be going.
Right.
Yeah. As long as it's legal. Throw that in there.
I think it was Ayn Rand. She was like, the question is not who's going to let me, but who's going to stop me.
Oh, I love that. Fantastic.
Do you have any siblings?
I do.
Okay.
I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and a stepbrother and a stepsister.
Okay.
And I'm smack in the middle of them. I am the oldest of my father's children and the youngest of my mother's children.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Right in the middle. And you do have kids.
I do.
What are you going to teach your children about entrepreneurship?
I teach them that they, you know, and it sounds so cliche, but nobody told me this growing up. You can do anything you want to do. Just do it. You know, there's nothing that you can't do. Whatever you set your mind to, you can do it. You know, all the choices that you make now, you're the only one who pays the consequences for those in the future. You know, so, but again, don't let anyone tell you there's something that you can't do. Or
what's the one thing in your business, in your profession, that drains you of energy, and what's the one thing that excites you?
The one thing that drains me of energy, negative people.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm a little positive. And, you know, and even on my worst days, I try to stop, you know, when I'm getting dark and say, all right, name 5 things that you're thankful for right this minute, you know, to get my head back in the game, you know, and out of the pit, so to speak. So sometimes it can be challenging, you know, because I feel personally responsible for making sure that person who is negative and sad, I want to bring them out of that, you know, and I have to keep myself in check because that can be draining. Because there's a line between empathy, you know, being empathetic to the fact of whatever you're going through that's making you negative, and knowing that, you know, you can't save everybody. You know, they have to take personal responsibility as well. And what was the last question?
What excites you?
What excites me?
Yeah.
People excite me. I love people. I love people. I had a boyfriend break up with me one time because I said that. He said, that is the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Really?
But yes, yeah,
Okay.
that was very interesting. And then he broke up with me. But that was a blessing,
That was a big blessing.
But yeah, I love people. Like, I love sitting down and hearing people's stories, you know, where they're from and what they've done and what they've been through and what they've done with what they've been through, because none of us have the same story. All of our stories, even if they appear on the surface like they might be the same, when you really take the time to listen and know another person's soul and what they've been through, nobody's story is the same, and it's an amazing experience if you take the time to do it.
What's something that most people don't know about you?
Most people don't know about me. I had chickens. I live in Midtown in Ardsley Park.
Okay.
And I had chickens in my yard. Most people don't know that. And I was not, that I was legal. I had the right amount of chickens. I was it was not illegal chicken holding. And I was also guardian ad litem when I lived in Jacksonville. I was an advocate for children as their voice in court when they were in it. I think here in Savannah we call it CASA. But I was able to work with the children and give advice to the court on what I thought should happen with them, and be their voice because they have no voice. And that was probably one of the most difficult things I have ever done in my life, because you're watching a situation that you have no control over, and you want to save them and rescue them, and you're limited to just telling the court what you think should happen with the child, and hope that you are A, making the right decision, and B, clearly making their voice known.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing. You've done some really amazing things that I'm glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
What is something that you consume religiously? Like, it could be a blog, a TV show, podcast, book, food.
Something I consume religiously. Books. I love books, and I love every kind of book.
Okay.
I read. I think I go through spells. I went through a Stephen King thing for a while there, and then an Anne Rice thing when I was young and dark. But yeah, now and I went through a self-help thing where I was reading every self-help book I could get my hands on, not for any particular purpose, but I think that helped me when I'm talking to people who are going through something. I go, oh, I read this thing, and then I can share that with them.
Yeah.
I think right now I'm going through a mostly spiritual stage.
Okay.
My husband just bought me the missing books of the Bible. So the books that were allegedly left out. So it's just interesting,
the Apocrypha, is that what they called?
Yes, the Apocrypha is one of the books, actually.
Oh, one of the books. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to see, and I love that I still like to hold a book. Everybody's so electronic now.
Yeah, Kindles and iPads.
Yes, and I'm very excited that libraries are still around, and we can still have books to hold and smell and touch, and it's a beautiful thing.
What's your favorite book?
My favorite, the Bible. I know that sounds really cliche, but the Bible is an amazing book. Even if you don't believe in God, and you don't believe in Jesus, and you don't believe in, and you're not falling for any of it, read it anyway. I mean, this book has, death, adultery, war, sex, love. I mean, it's like the greatest drama of any, betrayal.
Right.
The best book ever. If you just take the time to delve into it and find some good stories, then you're not going to be able to quit.
Very true. Very true. What's a tool? It could be like an app, website, physical tool that you couldn't run your business without.
LinkedIn.
Okay.
I like LinkedIn. I've been able to meet a lot of people I would have never gotten to meet through that. I like Facebook, but I feel that professionally, there are a lot more opportunities to meet other professionals that you may be able to connect with to help. When I meet them, I sit down, and the first thing you want is, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Who can I introduce you to? Savannah is, people talk about 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah, it's like 2 here.
Yeah.
Really
it is
2.
absolutely 2 here. So if there's somebody you want to meet, you may know somebody I want to meet, and I may know somebody you want to meet. So it's a great tool.
Okay.
And then you can find out, if they know somebody that you might not want to meet. How do you know them? I'm just teasing, but yeah.
So you're the first person to say LinkedIn. So do you have any tips or hacks or advice for people who want to be have some success on LinkedIn?
Well, if you're looking to meet specific people, there actually is a search section where you can go on, say, I would love to meet people who are in life insurance business.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I would love to meet people who sell life insurance, because they end up in situations where people are unable to get life insurance for various reasons. Maybe they're aged out, or they have an illness, or, it's just too expensive. It's something they could not afford. And all they really want to do is not really so much leave a legacy to their family at this point. They just want to be able to pay their funeral expenses without their families having that burden. So that's a great person for me to sit and talk to, because I can help them, they can help me, and
Right.
I'm helping their people, and
Right.
yeah, so everybody gets what they need, so that's a good thing.
Great advice. Okay. It's a concept called the Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule. 20% of your actions equal 80% of your results. So like in your business and in your sales, in your day-to-day, like what are the 20% of actions you take, small amount of actions that get you the most results?
Wow, that's a really good question, because I have to go through all the actions that I do in a day in my head, and I almost passed out. I was thinking about yesterday. I was like, whoa, what did I do yesterday? So being proactive, and not losing momentum, and not procrastinating. Procrastination will kill you.
Okay.
You put things off, and then the next thing you know, that mountain is really hard to climb up, and then you get overwhelmed, and then you kind of quit. So momentum is good. But one of the greatest things I think everybody should do every day, and not 20%, but whatever little bit it can be, is to give something. Givers gain, as we say in BNI. If you give, somebody's going to want to give back to you. It's just a natural order of things. So if you can, ask somebody every day, is there something I can do for you? What can I do for you and help you today? Even if there's nothing, at least they know somebody cares about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel that this is your life's calling?
At this time in my life, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like in this moment, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Is it something that I'm going to be doing 10 years from now? Only God knows, I don't know where my road is going to lead me, because my road that I'm on now, if you had told me 10 years ago I would be doing this, I would have laughed. I would have been like, there's no way that's the path I'm going to be on, that God's going to lead me on. But it's an adventure. Life is an adventure. They say life is what your blank is, what you fill it in with is what it's going to be.
That's true.
And it absolutely is. What is life to you? Life is what?
Yeah. Are you asking me?
Yes.
Life. What's my life calling, or what is life?
Fill in the blank. Life is.
Life is connecting with people. That's my life. That's why I feel the most. That's why I feel God the most when I'm doing these interviews and when I'm meeting new people and talking to people and figuring out about them. Yeah. So that's my life.
Yeah, you're good at it.
I try.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you. What's a quote that's always been a mantra that you live by?
A quote that has always been a mantra. Well, life is an adventure has always been my quote. But now I have to come up with another one, because I just used that one. Live long and prosper. I like that one. Yeah. Live long and prosper. I think that's appropriate for my position at the moment.
Do you think, just a few more, do you consider yourself an introvert or extrovert?
Absolute extrovert.
Okay.
Yeah. I think hands down, I don't even think we can have a discussion about that. I think that comes from moving back and forth from New York and Georgia. My whole life I had to adapt and and now it's just second nature. Yeah. Well, my spiritual gift is hospitality.
Okay.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. Your Savannah gift.
Yeah.
Yeah. Southern gift.
Making people feel welcome.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
If I could live this is going to sound crazy. Romania.
Okay.
I visited Romania many, many years ago, pre-children, when you could just pick up and take off to other countries for an extended period of time. And the people there were so amazing, and they just could not understand a word I said, and they loved me so much. I felt so much love and acceptance and hospitality. They didn't have a lot. A lot of the places I visited had no electric, no power, no indoor plumbing, and it was winter. Nice outhouse experiences that I was grateful when I got home for a hot shower and an indoor potty. But I actually cried when I left there, because I couldn't believe that these people who had so little would give me half more than what they had. They would give me, they just wanted to give, and that was the most amazing experience. And I think that the plumbing situation is probably a little better now, because it was 20 years ago.
I would hope so. I hope so. I've never heard Romania. I've never even thought about going to Romania, but maybe
you should try it.
Maybe I should try it.
Yeah.
Maybe I should try it one day. We'll see.
Beautiful people.
If you had a superpower or ability, what would you choose and why?
I would choose healing.
Mm.
I would choose healing, and not just physical healing, but emotional healing, because I think that is one of our greatest issues that block us to getting to where we need to be.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have trouble once they've been hurt, getting past that and knowing how to heal and grieve and go through the grieving process. So if I could just lay hands on everybody and fix that, I would.
Yeah, you're the second person that said that.
Really?
And, the other person was a psychiatrist, so that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Last question. Advice for entrepreneurial kids and their parents.
For kids, think outside the box. Look around, see what nobody else is doing, and follow your heart. Do what your heart tells you, not what the people around you are. And for parents, just support whatever their ideas are that they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. If your child wants to start a business that you don't think is going to get them that scholarship to college, that's okay. Because it's going to instill in them all of the traits that they need for later in life to get that scholarship, and instilling those in them early is what's going to make the difference, not exactly what they might be focusing on at the moment.
That's true. Yeah. All right, beautiful. Thank you. That's all the questions I have. Is there anything you wanted to mention before we get out of here that I left out?
No, well, thank you for having me. This has been fun. I've never done this before. And I would love if anybody wants to sit down and talk. We've got, Baker McCullough at Bonaventure, near the cemetery at Hodgson Memorial, and as well as Garden City, Highway 80. Love to sit down, or if anybody would love to have a seminar at their church, I'd love to come do that as well. Amazing. Yeah. All right, sounds great. Once again, everybody out there listening, I'm here with Lisa Bates of Baker McCullough, bakermccullough.com. That's Baker, McCullough here in Savannah. And thank you for being on the show. Thank you, everybody out. Thank you, everybody out there for listening. As always, so Lisa, I want to thank you, because I think I'm going to switch up my little final message a little bit because of you. And you have to kind of get comfortable with death a little bit. You don't have a lot of time on this earth, right? I have a joke. Okay,
yes, your joke.
Just like talking about sex doesn't make you pregnant, talking about death won't kill you.
That's beautiful. I like that one. Okay. All right. All right, thank you guys for listening. You don't have a lot of time on earth, so you have to get motivated. You have to take action. Go out there and be impactful. Go out there and help somebody. Givers gain. And I love you guys, and I'll talk to you next time. Goodbye.